Okay, this is Gaming McFitness. Welcome to my channel. I think I'm online right now. If it's starting late, this is Gaming McFitness. Today I'm gonna show Zwift, which is like I've been playing the games on the main screen on the left, and then on the bottom where it shows my 112 beats per minute and the time and how far I've walked. That's a virtual bicycling and running game or app called Zwift. I don't know if you'd call it a game. It's like a virtual world for running and cycling. It's a little gamified, but if it's more of a fitness app than a game. But I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, it's a virtual cycling and running app. I'm gonna show it on the main screen when I'm done with this little slideshow. It's like a real-time online fitness thing, but it's not like. But you're moving around in the virtual world. It's not like Peloton where you're in a virtual class with an instructor. And so you can meet up with your friends or with groups at certain times to do runs or cycling events. And also you can use sensors to monitor your stats, like your heart rate and how fast you're moving and stuff like that. But you need equipment to get it to work. And most of the time that would be, there's Bluetooth sensors, and then there's another communication protocol called ANT+. But I'm going to talk primarily about Bluetooth because I think it's going to kill off the ANT+, whatever that is. It's some like old-timey special fitness protocol. Many of the sensors that you can buy work with both Bluetooth and ANT+. So I don't worry about ANT+. So everything is Bluetooth. It connects to Zwift. The Zwift app, which can run on just about everything. It can run on your phones, it can run on a computer, it can run on even like an Apple TV. Right now I'm running it on my smartphone, my iPhone. And so what you're seeing on the bottom of the screen with the 124 beats per minute is a chunk of my iPhone screen. Projected onto the video output. And then where it says Game Zwift Platform iPhone, and then it shows my weight, I'm just covering up the Zwift screen parts that would only confuse you if you're watching me playing a game. They're not really relevant if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the rest of the Zwift world. But I'll show what it looks like normally on the full screen in a few minutes. And I did lose a couple pounds. I don't know how that happened. I didn't really do anything. A couple days ago I weighed 231. So I don't know. I mean, your weight just fluctuates randomly day to day based on hydration and whatnot. So I don't know if I've actually lost weight, but yeah. So it does show me as losing weight, but I'm a little skeptical. So the Zwift app is primarily based on virtual bicycling, and so the app charges you $15 a month to use it for cycling. They have a pretty generous trial period. I don't remember the exact details. And it resets every month. So if you only want to do 1 or 2 cycling workouts a month, you could probably just use the trial period forever if you wanted to be a dick. And it's based on, well, I didn't plan this out very well. I'm running, but I'm talking about the cycling. So on the bottom left, you would see different metrics. Instead of showing steps per minute, it would show cycling power. So everything is based on the cycling power. So which makes sense because you can't base it only on how fast the pedals are moving. Because if you think about riding a bike, you could be riding uphill and it's really hard to pedal. So that's a lot of force, muscle power you're exerting. And if you're going downhill, and then depending on what gear you're in, that affects. So the just the speed you're pedaling isn't a valuable metric of how hard you're actually working. So what Zwift uses is power. So if you're going uphill or you're in a tough gear that's hard to pedal, or you're in an easy gear and you're pedaling just really fast but not very hard, it'll show up as like, it'll take that into account. Yeah, so the power depends on how fast you're pedaling and the resistance to the pedaling. Yeah. So to use Zwift, you can either buy a stationary bike or what's called a bike trainer. That's one way to do it. Well, I guess I'm focusing on the power sensor here. Did I skip a slide? No. So yeah, some of the sensors and compatible stationary bikes and stuff, some of them will measure the power directly. So it'll send over Bluetooth, it'll send the power measurement and the Zwift will just display it. And some of them combine 2 measurements together to calculate the power. And that would be the speed and the cadence, which is how fast you're pedaling. So the speed that the wheel is turning and the speed that the pedal is turning, and the diameter of the wheel, they can use those 3 measurements together to calculate the power that you're exerting to pedal or to bike. But I think I got ahead of myself. So the power sensors specifically, not the speed and not the separate speed and cadence sensors, the power sensor, if it's not built into your stationary bike or trainer, which I'll explain what that is later, if it's not built in, you can replace the pedal of an ordinary stationary bike and you can buy pedals with power sensors built in, and that's what I did. Pedals, the pedal itself that your foot goes on, or the pedal crank arm. But my particular exercise bike, you couldn't change the crank arm, but you could change the pedal. I'm not sure how many stationary bikes even allow you to change the pedal. Some of them, I think a lot of them won't even let you do that. So you couldn't use a power sensor with your existing stationary bike if you couldn't take off the pedal or pedal arm. And if you do swap the pedal, I found out there's a couple pedal screw sizes and I had to use an adapter. And that bicycle grease is important because during the virus I bought a pedal power meter and I attached it to the exercise bike. Excuse me, burping like a disgusting person. I always cram myself with food right before the stream, which is a horrible idea because I'm always running late on eating, and I don't want my blood sugar to drop when I'm running. So I put the carbs in, the food in, whatever. Probably not the best plan, but that's what I do. And that's why I'm burping. But so anyway, I put one on without bicycle grease, and something was wrong with it for some reason, and I tried to take it off, and I ended up breaking the. It was screwed on so tight I couldn't loosen the screw to remove the pedal with the sensor on it, and I ended up snapping the thing when I tried to screw it off. So I was out $400, and then I went and I bought another one for the similar price. And I would never have done that if it weren't for the virus and me being stuck at home. I would have just said screw it. I'm out the money. I'm not going to mess with this anymore. But because I wanted to get some exercise, even though we were stuck inside and whatnot, I bought another one. And I Googled about it, and there's a thing called bicycle grease. It's like $10. So if you swap the pedal, use the bicycle grease. The other thing I found out after I ordered the pedals and put them on is that you can't use normal bicycle shoes. There's these clamp-in bicycle shoes. I don't know what they're called, but I had to buy some of those to use the pedal with the power sensor in it. So I ended up buying just more and more crap, and that's why I'm making this video to, if you want to get into this, to be aware generally of how much crap you need to buy to get it to work, because I wasn't, and I ended up just piling on more and more crap until I finally got it to work. And I ended up buying a couple wrong sensors, and then I broke the one thing. So hopefully, if you're interested in doing this, I can save you some time and money by not giving you enough info that you don't go down the wrong path, stumbling around like I did. So the power sensor is the basic way to do it. If you can get the power sensor to work, like you can take off the pedal on your stationary bike and put the power sensor on. You don't need to do the speed and cadence. This is like an alternate way if the power way doesn't work, to use these two sensors instead of the one sensor. And then it can calculate the power from these two sensors. And then I think you have to put your bicycle wheel diameter also. You need to program that in, but that's no big deal. And this will work. A cadence sensor basically attaches to the pedal. And that'll work for anything. I mean, there's no way it can't attach to the pedal, I don't think. The speed sensor, you have to be careful because there's a couple different types of speed sensors. Some of them are like GPS based, and they're meant to be sensors for outdoor cycling, not indoor cycling. So you have to, since you're probably doing indoor cycling, if you're playing Zwift with the virtual world, you'll probably want to use the RPM speed, which it's looking at the wheel to see what your speed is. It's not looking at GPS. So you want to make sure you get that type of speed sensor. And then also, if it's looking at the RPM speed of the wheel, there has to be a wheel. So like my exercise bike doesn't have an exposed wheel. A lot of them have like a, I'll go on Amazon a little bit after this slideshow, and I'll do a search for stationary bikes, and you'll see that most of them don't have a wheel. Yeah, most of the stationary bikes don't have a wheel, so you can't do this. So if it doesn't have a wheel and if you can't take the pedal off, you're kind of SOL with that particular stationary bike. Unless it has Bluetooth built in and is Zwift compatible built in. Cycling gear. So the power sensor, I put $500 for the pedal power sensor. I did some Googling around. I had bought it for $450 last year, but it was a little more expensive on Amazon right now. So these are rough prices. You might be able to find things a little cheaper. The clamp-in bicycle shoes, $40 and up. The cheapest ones are $40. Look like $70 to $80 is like the medium price. So I mean, you're cycling indoors. I mean, how nice does this shoe need to look? And how durable does it need to be? Like, so that's why I put the cheaper price there. If you need to buy a screw size adapter to attach the pedal with the sensor in it, that was $20. Bicycle grease to put the pedal sensor on. To put the new pedal on, $10. So that's if you're doing that approach. If you're doing the speed and cadence sensor instead of the power sensor, you can get that for like $80. So that's a lot cheaper. But your stationary bike setup needs to have an exposed wheel. So you might, and there's these things called bike trainers. So you can buy some stationary bikes with the sensors in them. And if you go to the Zwift website, they have links to a bunch of them and a list of compatible ones. But there's another thing called a bike trainer. And basically what a bike trainer is you use your outdoor bike and you use it indoors by putting it on like a spinning track thing, or you take off the back wheel and it hooks to the gizmo, the bike trainer gizmo. And so you're pedaling indoors, but you're sitting on your outdoor bike. One of the benefits of those is that the Zwift virtual world has hills in it. So when it shows the miles you've traveled, like it says 0.95 miles, that how many miles you go based on how far you've gone depends on whether the virtual world is going uphill or downhill. And some bike trainers can get feedback from the Zwift app and make it harder to run or harder to pedal if you're going uphill and easier to do it if you're going downhill. So it simulates the real world of going up and down hills with some of the more expensive bike trainers. But I'm not doing anything like that. So the cheapest one I could find on Amazon was the Zwift compatible bike trainer is $330, but most of them were more than that. But if you look, I didn't have an outdoor bike for one thing, and then for the other thing, I don't have much space to use an indoor bike in my living area. I was in an apartment at the time, actually. Right now I'm in the bottom half of a relative's house, but I didn't have space for a normal bike. It's longer, than my little foldable stationary bike. But if you have the space and you have an outdoor bike, it might be cheaper to actually buy the trainer than to buy the power sensor for the stationary bike. If you do buy a trainer, So this was the price for a trainer that had Zwift built in. You could get them cheaper if they don't have Zwift and Bluetooth built in, and then buy the sensors separately. But again, some of the trainers, you take off the back wheel, so then you couldn't use the speed and cadence sensors. You'd have to use a power sensor, and then you're back up to $500. So it wouldn't make sense financially to do it that way. So I would say if you have a stationary bike or a trainer and you can use a speed and cadence sensor, if it has the exposed wheel, that's the cheapest way. The second cheapest would be if you had an outdoor bike to just buy a new trainer and use that. A new trainer that has the power sensor built in for $330. Well, that's the cheapest one. I mean, they get super expensive. The ones that make it harder to go up and downhill are probably over $1,000. I didn't look into it. But yeah, you have to think about like, well, can I take the pedal off what I've got? Do I have room? Whatever. And you have to figure out your price from there. And you go on the Zwift website, and I'll show you that in a minute. And they have a lot of nice guides and stuff for you. If I didn't explain it that great, yeah. So other cycling notes. I was browsing Amazon earlier today, and if you're getting cycling sensors, they will say Zwift compatible if they are in the descriptions, because Zwift is pretty popular and they want to sell it. But sometimes they use tricky language like compatible with Zwift if you have an external sensor, if you provide us your own sensor. So you have to be careful about that. If you see the word Zwift, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to buy the sensor also. So getting the sensors to work, the Bluetooth pedal sensors, and I'm also using a heart rate sensor that's strapped around my chest. And right now I'm using the foot sensor for running. Those are all Bluetooth. And I have a PC that's right behind the camera that's looking at me. So it's about 6 feet away, if that. And the Bluetooth is flaky from that distance. And so I have a phone sitting right here, and it works great from here. So I don't know, it could be the my particular PC. I had to buy a USB Bluetooth adapt sensor, Bluetooth access point, whatever it's called, because my computer is so old it didn't have Bluetooth built in. So it could be an issue with my PC, or it could be how far I am away. But you might have to keep that in mind, that the Bluetooth might be flaky. You might have to rethink your setup to get it to work, because it's super annoying when it disconnects and reconnects and disconnects and reconnects, which it would do when I was on the PC connecting from here to the PC, but it works great from the phone here. I also found I'm using wired headphones, like earbuds. The reason I'm doing that is because when I was using a Bluetooth headphones, it was using so much Bluetooth bandwidth that was interfering with the sensor signal too. Yeah, and then so I'm using a heart rate sensor that straps around your chest. I found that like right now it's working. That looks like an accurate heart rate. sometimes for no reason it'll just go down to like 95 or jump up to 180 or just disconnect. And I actually bought 2 different models, and they both do that. And they also both, I have to take the battery out after I'm using them because they're not smart enough to unpair from the device I'm using, and so they just drain the battery overnight doing nothing. So they're sort of crappily built, these heart rate sensors that go around your body, but they're like $60. But it's good to have a heart rate sensor, the beats per minute. You don't need to. It doesn't really affect the Zwift world. It just shows you that. And it is used in the calorie counting. So after you finish your run or cycling, it'll show you the estimated calorie burn based on your heart rate and your speed and whatever, and your height demographic info that you programmed in. So that's nice. And cycling in particular is based a lot on heart rate. And so most of the sensors for heart rate, for real-time heart rate measurement, are based on cycling. There are a bunch of heart rate sensors that are like cheap, like $20, but they're not real-time heart rate. So you like stick a thing on your thumb and like 20 seconds later it'll give you 1 heart rate measurement. That's not what you need. You want the real-time Bluetooth heart rate measurement. So you have to be careful what type of heart rate sensor you buy. And apparently it will work with some smartwatches too. They don't do the real-time heart rate measurement, but according to the Zwift website, the Apple Watch does. So if you had the Apple Watch, you could get your real-time heart rate and display it on the Zwift, apparently. I haven't done that, but because I don't have an Apple Watch, but apparently you can use that instead of strapping a thing on your chest. So running, the Zwift app is mainly focused on cycling. They added running, I think, last year, like right before I started doing it. So there's not as many people doing running, and there's not that many running exclusive virtual tracks to run on. You basically run on the side of the road on the virtual bicycling tracks. And last time I checked a couple months ago, it was free to run in Zwift. But you had to subscribe if you wanted to cycle. But I imagine at some point they'll make it so it's not free for running. And they may have already done so. I'm not 100% sure because I'm subscribed. And you do need a running speed sensor, which again, it can be built into a treadmill. Treadmills are expensive. I didn't look up what the treadmills cost. There's a device you can attach to the treadmill. I think there's only one model that the Zwift is compatible with. You'd have to get that on the Zwift website. Or you can attach a sensor to your shoe, which is what I do. And that one works great. It works much better than the heart rate sensor, and I really like it. And it's only $110 total to run, so it's a lot cheaper to run with Zwift than it is to buy all the gear for cycling. And they do have a Zwift Pod shoe sensor that's only $30. And so maybe you only have to spend $30, but I tried using it and I couldn't get it to work. And I Googled around last year, and there were a lot of people who had complained about it. So I don't think it's very good. Maybe they fixed it, maybe they didn't. But yeah, you can use... So again, most watches, like fitness watches, they use like GPS to see how far you've run. So you can't use them running on a treadmill in Zwift. But apparently there's a type of Garmin watch which has like a virtual run feature. And I don't know exactly how that works. But I guess it fakes it. It sends fake data to Zwift while you're running. um, on a treadmill. Um, and so it looks, um, so you can run in Zwift using that, but I think it just, you program in your run speed, I'm guessing, and it just sends that as if you're running that speed whether you are or not. And it's expensive, so that's probably not the best way to go. But yeah, so probably the shoe sensor is the easiest way to do it for running with Zwift. Okay, so that's my slideshow. So I have some, I am going to go to the Zwift website here. So if you go, this is just the Zwift website. Come on, of course it's going to be slow. So it has cycling and running sections, and so cycling, and it's pretty well organized, what you need to ride. So there's videos, and here it says you need a trainer or a bike, and it talks about the sensors. Device to run Zwift on just means like the PC or the phone that's running the app. So this is what a trainer looks like. So the trainer is the thing you're using your street bike, but you're connecting it to a gizmo. And there's different types. Direct drive means you take the wheel off of your street bike. And they have a list of compatible ones. A huge list. I thought they would have had a better picture. Wheel on trainers. So anyway, yeah, I'll find a better picture. So yeah, this is a type of trainer where you'd use your street bike, and the back wheel would rest on this, and this would be the center of your wheel where my cursor is. So the wheel would still be on it, so you could use you could attach a speed sensor to your bicycle wheel if you had a wheel-on trainer that didn't have Bluetooth sensors built in. But with the other type where you take the wheel off, the direct drive trainer, you couldn't do that. Yeah, cycling, what you need to ride. Oops, I can close that. It's cut off of my TV a little bit in the corners, so it's hard to supported bikes. So there's some bikes you can, I guess the bike itself has the sensor in it, not the trainer. So you could get a stationary bike with the sensors in it. You could get a real bike with the sensor in it and use the trainer. Or you could attach the sensors to a stationary bike. Yeah, like I said before, there's lots of ways of doing it. There's a quick start guide. I feel like this is not helpful. As helpful as I thought it would be. And there's a store on Zwift. I'm going to mute this. So there on the, oh come on. On the left he's using a a trainer with the wheel on the bike. So it's a wheel on trainer. And then on the right, he's using a direct drive trainer or a wheel off trainer. Did I say that right? So this is a wheel off trainer on the right. And then wheel on trainer on the left. So those are the two different types of trainers. But yeah, I'm not using a trainer, I'm just using a normal stationary bike. So if you go to Amazon and you search Zwift trainer, you can see more of these. And so for example, this one says magnetic indoor bike trainer, Sarah's brand. And this one says indoor bike trainer smart equipped option. So this $330 one has the Zwift sensors built in, and this one doesn't. So this cheaper one that doesn't have the Zwift sensors built in, it says compatible with indoor cycling apps when paired with your favorite speed or cadence sensor. So it's saying that you have to buy your own sensor. But it does say compatible with indoor cycling apps, so it's a little misleading. But if you look at the one here, that's it changed this one that's about $80 more. If I did my math right, and $70 more. This says included speed sensor connects you with Ravi Zwift and indoor cycling apps. So you might want to double check that it has a power sensor and not just a speed sensor. Although if it had the speed sensor built in, you could buy the cadence sensor separately and attach it to your pedal for like $20. So I guess it doesn't need to have a power sensor. So those are trainers. So this is the heart rate thing that I bought. The heart rate sensor, one of them. It's like $65 right now on sale. This is the pedal, bicycle pedal power meter. And I paid less than this. I paid like $4.50. I think I didn't buy it on Amazon. I think I bought it on a Bicycle and Gear website. So you might be able to find it cheaper off of Amazon. And they have ones, so this is single sensor. I mean, there's a power sensor in one of the pedals. It's like $800 or more if you want it in both of the pedals. And that's like if you're Lance Armstrong or you're like a professional. You don't need it in both pedals if you're just a normal person trying to exercise. So this is the other heart rate sensor that I bought. They both work, but they both are sort of shitty, and then you got to keep taking out the battery and stuff. So this one was $55. Now this one is $65. And again, you don't need the heart rate sensor to use Zwift. It's just nice to see, and it helps it calculate calories and stuff. So I googled the cycling power meter. So this is the cycling speed and RPM cycling speed. So this means it's not the GPS bias. It's not the wrong kind. So it is the right kind of speed sensor, but you need a wheel. So you need a bike setup that has a wheel to use the speed sensor. But you can buy the speed and the cadence sensor together, and that'll be enough to calculate the power and use Zwift. So that's $70. That's the cheapest way to do it if you have the wheel. But yeah, like like the one we were looking at here, this trainer has the speed sensor built in, and so you could buy the cadence sensor to go with it for, I guess, $40. I think I have a search for, okay, that's the one for running that I'm using. It's $110. There weren't that many listed supported running foot pedal sensor brands. There was this one that's $110, and then there was this stride sensor, which is like $300 or something. So you don't have many choices for the for the running sensor. $219. Okay, supported foot. So this is for running, what you need to run. So before I showed on Zwift website what you need to bike or cycle. So this is saying there's a bunch of brands of treadmills that have the speed built in that it can send to Zwift. And then there's a few foot pods like that go in your shoe. And like I said, the one I'm using is this Polar one, which is $110. These Stride ones are like $200. The Zwift Run Pod was like $30, but I couldn't get it to work. I'm not sure how much the Garmin one was. And then yeah, this is where I saw where it said that you can use a Garmin watch to simulate a run, but it's not actually looking at what you're actually doing, I don't think. Bluetooth enabled shoes. Oh, I guess you can use a shoe that's got Bluetooth built in instead of attaching a sensor to a shoe. But to me, that's kind of silly. It's probably more expensive too. That's that Garmin watch. It's expensive to do the virtual run. So yeah, I had to buy a cycling shoe to go with my bicycle power meter pedal that I bought. And so they have these like, they look like almost like baseball cleats. They've got like metal things on the bottom of them that strap into the pedal. You can find them for like under $50. Like yeah, like this cheap one is like $40. But yeah. Now let me just search for station. Whoa! That's the first time that's happened. Station. Surprised my I do have the emergency release thing on my the strap on, but it didn't work for some reason. So if you look at most stationary bikes, they don't have exposed wheels. That's what I wanted to show. So you couldn't attach this. So some of these have these flywheel that's sort of exposed, but it's not like a wheel with a tire on it. Like I don't know if you could stick a speed sensor on that. And I can't tell if the wheel, if part of the wheel is like on the outside, or if you can. So maybe you could get it to work if it had like a exposed flywheel without a tire, but I doubt it. You probably would have to buy, if you had something like this, you'd probably have to buy, unless it has Bluetooth built in, you'd probably have to buy a power sensor for the pedal. But you'd also have to make sure that you can take the pedal off. I don't know if you'd be able to tell by looking on Amazon. Cage foot pedal, I don't know. But whatever. So I think I showed enough of ordering it, so you can buy a lot of the stuff on Amazon. There's some good guides with videos and lists of compatible devices on the Zwift website. and stuff. So I am going to show the actual Zwift app. This is my video thing. It's called the A10 Mini. It's a way to control the video. Okay, so this is the Zwift app that I've been using. So it's just a mirror copy of what's on the bottom of the screen. So it shows me how long I've been. Wow, I didn't realize I was going for 48 minutes already. So it's a nice, like, there's visuals to look at. There's a volcano there. It's like a virtual world. You can see all the bicyclists going by. You can see me here on the right, T. Walma. Where's my mouse? Oh yeah, I'm not looking at my computer anymore. I'm looking at the cell phone. Okay, so this is basically the cycling part. So let me exit out and go back in. So when you end the run, see how it shows 155 calories burned. Come on. So I'm just going to go back in and start another run to show how it works. So I have my user set up, my name, and I have my weight and my height and stuff. But I'm not going to show that. That's pretty bland and ordinary. Not that hard to figure out. So it's detected my sensors, and so if it didn't detect the sensor, then it would, there's like a search thing to find the sensors. And once you find the sensors, you don't need the heart rate one. But yeah, I guess I could even say tap to pair. See, it found the heart rate sensor right away. But yeah, you could switch sensors or whatnot. So once you have your devices paired, you go into here. So there's a few different virtual worlds that you can run in or cycle in. Right now, and if you look on the calendar on the bottom right, it has all those different colored dots. So depending on what day it is, there's different worlds available. So not all the worlds are available every day. So right now, it always gives you the option for Watopia, which is the main one. But there's 5 other ones, it looks like. There's the London, Yorkshire. There's a French one, New York City. Maybe 2 London ones. I think the other one's like, I don't know, whatever. There's a bunch of different virtual ones. And then you can do, I keep forgetting that I'm not on the computer. You can do training if you want. And you can, I want to get out of that. I want to do the training. But you can set your goals and workouts and all that jazz. Or you can just pick a route. So within a virtual world, there's a few different routes. And it'll say how long it is, and it'll show it on the map here. So, I could just, I don't know what Duchy Estate is, but, so you can pick a route and start running. And it says on the left, join now, so you can join like group runs, and there's events, upcoming events. Halloween Dino Party starting in 22 minutes. Black Celebration Series run. I don't think I've ever done a group thing. But some of the group ones have things where you've got to go a certain speed, and if you fall too far behind the leader, it'll drop you out of the group. You can pick a certain Zwifter, like if you know somebody, like, and you run with them. I'm not sure how that works either, but I'm just doing my own run. I picked that Dutchy, whatever it was called, track, and so it shows me walking. The walking is, that was a little loud. The walking is kind of boring in Zwift because the scenery just goes by so slow. Yeah, I'm just back where it was. It does say calories on the running as you're running. So I've burned 1 calorie in the 30 seconds or so since I've been in it. And it's a little gamified here, where there's like, where it says add a target, you can do something with that target you'd like to hit. So there's stuff you can do, and you can chat with people, and take like virtual photos, and I'm not sure how all that works. And you can, but there's a Zwift companion app, so you can be watching Zwift on the TV and have a companion app in your phone, on a separate device, which shows like a more convenient thing for like interacting and seeing your data as you're exercising. So there's different ways to do it. I think the people who do chat, like, you can thumbs up people as they go by, and you can send messages to them, text chat messages. I think the people who do that probably use the companion app, because I can't tape on my tiny little phone as I'm running or walking or biking. You'd have to, if you wanted to be more social in this, you'd have to experiment with the best way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to back out of this, and then I'm going to switch to the bicycle to show how that works. I'm not going to save that. Glad I didn't twist my ankle when I slipped a minute ago. I can take off my shoes. Be about a minute before I move over to the bike. My headphones. I don't need the slip sensor anymore, which didn't help when I slipped. I am really sweating. So the bike is here. So I have my bicycle shoes with the clampy things on the bottom that were like 50 bucks. And it took me a few days to get used to figuring out how to clamp them into the pedals, but eventually you figure it out. I had to Google it. It wasn't as intuitive as I thought it would be, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy to clamp in, and you can hear it. You can hear the snap when you're clamped in. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, but I can hear it. So I'm clamped in with the pedals. Well, I'm going to unclamp too. Get my water. So you switch to ride, if it'll detect my thumb press, because I'm all sweaty. So here it says power source or speed sensor. Or like I was saying, you could use the speed and the cadence sensor, or you could use a power sensor, depending on your hardware setup. I'm using the power sensor. It's not smart enough. The VIA is actually the heart rate sensor that's on my chest here. If I start pedaling, it'll detect the actual, well shoot, my wire is going to get tangled in the pedals if I pedal. I need to move this. Let me think. If I wrap this around this, then it won't be in the way. Okay, so this V3 Garmin is the power meter sensor that's in the pedal. I guess I have to repair the heart rate. That's the heart rate sensor. Let's go. Same thing, you can select tracks and join groups and whatnot, and training. And so the Watopia has the best visual routes, because you can choose like, oops, and you can, there's themes like the desert one, Dust in the Wind. There's like a Mayan hill one, there's mountain one, there's like a Mayan ruins, there's sand and sequoias is like redwood trees, and there's like virtual Bigfoot that you ride by. And so they're pretty creative with what the scenery is. Volcano circuit. You drive through a virtual volcano. I'll do that one because that's kind of interesting. So yeah, this is Zwift. It might take a little. Sometimes it takes a while. There, it detected the. So the watts is the power, because it's a power sensor. So there is a, on my particular bike, I can adjust the. So, see, now I'm pedaling super fast and the power is low because it's super easy to pedal. But if I make it so it's really hard to pedal, then I can pedal slower and the power is higher. Yeah. And it's got the beats per minute of my heart rate from the heart rate sensor. Revolutions per minute is, this power sensor also has a cadence, which is the speed of the pedals, I think. But you don't have to have that if you have the power. Some power sensors would have cadence built in or speed built in, and some of them wouldn't. But all you really need is the power sensor with the watts to do Zwift. So it shows I'm going 18 miles an hour in the virtual world. So I'm starting to coast down a hill, so even though I'm pedaling the same speed in my house, the character goes 22 miles an hour. And then he goes up a hill, then it slows down the speed, even though I'm pedaling the same speed. If you had like a super expensive bike trainer thing, it can make it so you're actually pedaling harder when you're going uphill. So it'll adjust the hardness with the game. If you want to buy an expensive bike trainer, and you'd want to go on the Zwift website to make sure it's compatible before you bought it. So that is a thing you can do. So I picked like the volcano circuit, which is like a 3-mile course. So it shows me like how far I have to go. And within the courses, there's these little like sprinting areas. And I think that's what I'm approaching. I think that's what that dividing line is up here, maybe. But yeah, so all you do is pedal. Like, you don't steer and you don't do anything other than pedal. And if you have it set up to do that, I mean, you can chat and stuff. But you don't steer in the game. So it's not really a game, it's like a fitness virtual world. I don't know if you'd call it a game. And yeah, it costs $15 a month for this cycling thing. But the running one I was doing earlier, I think it's still free, because they're just adding the running functionality to the game app thing, to Zwift, whatever you want to call it. But eventually they'll probably start charging a monthly fee to do the running. It'll probably be the same fee for running and cycling together. The same 15, I would guess. So what that is on the top right, left, that helmet thing. So it's a little boost, like if you're racing somebody, aero boost. So it gamifies it a little bit. Like every once in a while it'll give you a little bonus. So if you were caring about racing somebody in the game, then those might be helpful, but they don't really even do anything noticeable to the average person. Like, it didn't feel like I got a boost when it ran, when that aerial boost thing was going for 20 seconds. And you can also, on all of these intersections, you can choose to abandon the track you're going on and turn the other way if you want to. Like if you think the scenery is nicer, or you're following another biker or something, you don't have to stick on your chosen track. I think you can even turn around. Yeah. But now it's not gonna... If you do stay on your chosen track, like the volcano circuit is the one that I picked, it'll keep track over time at how your finish time on that volcano circuit, and you can see if you've been improving or not. But once you deviate from a particular circuit, then it doesn't keep track of that anymore. So if I don't select turn, then I think I'll go straight. Or no, maybe if I selected that, then it would have given me the option to... I don't remember exactly. I might not have gone far enough to pick whether to turn. But yeah, I haven't used all of the features, I suppose. But I think I gave a good enough idea on how this works. And I've got my hour workout in. I'm not looking at the comments if somebody was asking a question. Sorry about that. But yeah, let me do... So it can give you some info here while you're running. Your heart rate distribution in your run. When you end the ride, it gives you more info too. You can look, this is how far I went on the map. Oh, come on, why won't it? That's my heart rate over time for that 6-minute run, or 6-minute cycling session, whatever you'd want to call it. 58 calories burned in the 6 minutes, 18 seconds. I don't know what TSS stands for. It's some sort of fitness metric. Maybe that's... oh, there's a question mark there. Training. Stress score. Physiological stress based on duration and intensity of a workout. Okay, so you can see all of this too when you're done. You can add fitness goals. Like I must have programmed in at one point. I wanted to do 5 hours of bicycling a week. That was before I hurt my hip. So when I first got this set up during the virus, I was cycling almost every day for an hour or hour and a half. And I ended up hurting my hip from bicycling. I think maybe it's because the way I do it, I kind of wobble back and forth maybe, or my posture, or I just overdid the muscle. Also, I broke my leg, like upper leg, when I was a baby, so maybe there's some, whatever. I hurt my hip, so I had to stop doing it. So I haven't been doing 5 hours a week since then. But you can set different goals. There's some random achievements. So they gamify it a little bit. I'm going to discard that too. So I guess because if you save the workout session, it can upload it, and you can use your Zwift companion app to view your progress over time and go deep into the statistics of your fitness level and stuff. But I don't do that. But I think I'm going to call it a day. So this is Zwift. This is what I'm using on the bottom of the screen when I play the game. That's showing my heart rate and the running or cycling speed and power and whatnot. Yeah. And then if you ask questions on the Gaming McFitness social media or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, I'll go back afterwards and look, and I'll try to answer questions. I'm not the mega expert like pro, but I have been using it for a while and I know the basics on how to use it. So yeah, I'll try to be helpful when I can. Alright. I need to walk over there to end the session. This was Gaming McFitness. Gyms are I still need a damn outro. Gyms are evil. Not only is exercising unpleasant, gyms are a slap in the face about not giving you mental stimulation. So they all deserve to be destroyed. Fitness gaming rules. I'll come up with a outro. Something like that that's not all bumbly and boringly stated at some point.